The very best way to stop stress from escalating, to minimize fear, and to reverse the damaging effects of stress and fight or flight is to find a state of inner peace and rest and relaxation. I'll be guiding you for the next 31 days, every day, in a mindful meditation practice. I'm Julie Hunt. Welcome to your 31-day meditation collective. I will be guiding you for the next 31 days in mindfulness practices that are designed to allow you to achieve a state of inner peace, present moment awareness, shut down the fight or flight response, and make sure that you are minimizing the negative impact of fear and anxiety. Before we get started, I'd like to give you some of the basics of meditation. I want to dispel the myth that in meditation, you have to stop your thoughts. You do not need to stop your thoughts. You simply need to notice your thoughts. And then I'll guide you in a breath awareness meditation that we'll do together. So many times when people come to me and they say, Julie, I can't meditate, I was one of them, or it's too difficult, it's because they think they have to shut out their thoughts and they have to force out thoughts, or they need to have this empty mind. And I don't know about you, but I am never going to empty my mind. I have so much going on in my mind. And rather than feeling like that you have to force out thoughts, I want you to think about the idea that you're expanding space between the thoughts. Because between every thought, there's a tiny space, there's a gap. And when you can expand the space between those thoughts, you access the space of silence, of healing. You can also think of that space as the creative flow, the creative impulse. It's a space beyond the physical body, beyond the thoughts and that cycle. We have between 60 and 80,000 thoughts every single day. But between each one of those, we have a little space. And so for the next 31 days, we're going to expand that space so we can allow the body to receive a deep level of rest. Because the instant that you shut down the fight or flight response, the instant that you expand the space between all that activity, so it's the activity of the body, it's also the activity of the mind. When you stop the fight or flight response and you stop that cycle of activity, you begin to stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system. You shut down fight or flight, the sympathetic nervous system, and you begin to enter a state of rest and relaxation. That's when the body heals itself. That's when rest and recovery happens. That's what builds your immune system. That's what makes you healthy, makes you vital and vibrant, gives you more energy. So your job is to simply notice thoughts, not to force them out. And this is how you're going to do it. We're going to have an anchor, or we're going to have a focal point. So I use the words interchangeably: anchor, focal point, or source of the meditation. And for now, we're going to start with the breath. You hear that the breath is one of the most common and powerful anchors in meditation. And it's because, one, it's always with us, right? It's always here. And it is used for its vibration qualities, so it doesn't have anything to keep us at an active level. And anytime you bring your awareness to the breath, you immediately leave the past and the future, because that's where most of us live. We live out here, but we don't live in here, in this moment. Your mind might already be thinking, can I do this? When am I going to find time to do this? What happens between the space between thoughts, or analyzing what I'm saying, rather than being here in this moment. And that's normal. And in meditation, all you're going to do is act as if you're speaking with your best friend. We're right here speaking. And then every time your mind drifts and you have a thought impulse, or you notice a sensation, emotion in the body, even a sound in the external environment, you're just going to notice it. Notice that thought impulse and come back to the relationship of your friend, or come back to the anchor. And right now, you're building the relationship with your breath. You're really strengthening that muscle to know that this can anchor you at any moment in time, no matter what is going on out there, whatever stress, whatever anxiety, whatever turbulence is going on in the world. You have an internal anchor that is pure space and calm. It is life force. So here's what we're going to do. we are going to take this journey from activity, the physical activity and the mental activity, the 60 to 80,000 thoughts, and we're going to start to take a journey from activity to silence. And you can imagine this as if it's kind of the ocean, right? If you notice the top of the ocean, perhaps the Pacific Ocean that's right here, the ocean is very rough and you have waves. But if you can imagine what it's like when you drop down 100 miles below the ocean, you start to get a sense of stillness, 1,000 miles. And that's really what we're doing. So the breath is going to be your anchor. It's almost going to take you like a submarine to that space of silence below the activity of the mind. And so as you go deeper into a state of rest and relaxation, the mind is going to kick off a thought. And your job is not to push it out. It's not to judge it. It's not to think you were wrong or bad or to expect anything or to analyze it, because that's how we live our lives, right? Do better, do good, achieve more, analyze this. What is our next step? Right now, all we get to do is notice and be with the best friend now that is with our breath. And so every time a thought pops up in your mind or an experience, simply notice it. And your only job is to say, do I want to take that thought to the next one? Do I want to follow that trail of thought? Or do I want to come back to the anchor of my breath? That's it. So every thought, as soon as you hear a thought in the mind, a sound in the environment, or some experience takes you away from the breath, just imagine the question comes up, what do I want to do with that thought? I can follow it to the next one. I can think about what I want to do next, or I can come back to the vibration of the breath. Every time you come back to the vibration of the breath, you expand more and more space between the thoughts. So in active life, we kind of follow that impulse of the mind as it jumps and jumps, and we kind of follow it from one thing to the next. But right now, your only job is to come back to the anchor whenever you notice that the mind has drifted. It might drift to a color, a thought, a sound, an experience. Treat them all the same. Notice and just easily come back to the breath. Just like you're talking to your best friend, I'm going to come back to the conversation, to the vibration of my breath. So that's all you have to do. So let's try a meditation together. This might be easier at the beginning to just find a nice quiet place that you won't be disturbed for the next few minutes. And imagine that you're seated really comfortably. Just really sink into it. Don't worry about sitting in full lotus or all the things that you've heard in the past of having to meditate correctly. Just allow yourself to rest, to remove yourself from activity, to make that journey from activity into a space of rest and silence. If you haven't already, close your eyes. You might have this sense of dignity, of open-heartedness, and then just relax a little more deeply. Bringing your awareness to the breath. And just notice the natural quality of the breath. Just be curious about how long it is, how short. Is it deep or shallow? Is it long? Is it resonant? Can you feel it in the chest, the belly? Can you feel it in the nostrils? What is the temperature of the breath? There's no right or wrong. There's no particular pattern that the breath has to flow with. Just allow it to be as natural and easy as possible, letting go of the shoulders, the arms, relaxing the facial muscles. Relaxing the hips, letting yourself relax more deeply with a gentle awareness on your breath. You might bring your awareness to the inhale. Notice if the inhale's perhaps a bit cooler than the exhale. You might notice the body settling. As the body settles, the mind follows. You might begin to notice if there are any changes in the breath. Without any expectation or without looking for any experience, just noticing this natural state of being and breathing. In a moment, your mind may drift to a thought. You might hear a sound in the external environment. Or maybe you experience a sensation in the body. And that thought or experience takes you away from your awareness of the breath. And the moment you notice that your mind has drifted from the breath, I invite you to ask the question, do I want to follow this to the next thought? Or do I want to come back to the awareness of the breath? I invite you to make the choice to come back to the awareness of the breath. And so it becomes this very easy and effortless journey from breath awareness off to thought and back to the awareness of the breath. It's really gentle back and forth. Please continue to notice the breath without looking for any outcome, without analyzing it. Just observing it. And then when you have a thought, observing the thought. And making that choice to come back to the breath. Allowing yourself to access that space of inner calm and peace. Because this is who you are. You are not the mind. You are not the body. You are the space between. You are the space of infinite possibilities. And between any thought and that space, anything can happen between one thought and the next. There are infinite possibilities. And every time that you allow your awareness to come back to the breath, you expand the space. You enter a field of pure potential and infinite possibilities that allows you to come back to your present situation with more rest, more clarity of mind, allow yourself to continue to rest comfortably in the awareness of the breath. Please take in a deeper inhale. And a long, full exhale. Feel the shoulders dropping. Notice if there are any changes in the body, changes in the mind from when you started this breathing exercise. Know that this state of rest is always within you. You can close your eyes and you can shut down any external stimulus that's stressful, anxious, fearful, and you can come back to the breath anytime you want. It is always with you. It is always your anchor, breathing you, sustaining you, keeping you alive every second of the day. There's nothing you have to do. The breath just breathes, giving you life and oxygen, carrying you from one step to the next. And as you begin to deepen the inhale and the exhale, you can start to softly open your eyes, bringing your awareness back into this space. Remember to be really easy on yourself. It's an honor to guide you and to be with you and to share this space of community. And I know that everything we feel far apart perhaps right now, but we really are all one. And I'm hugely grateful for the gift to be with you by video. So anything you need, please subscribe. You can, if you haven't already, registered to receive daily instructions for each meditations in written form. Please, there's a link below. I'll send those to you daily, and I'll see you right back here tomorrow.